What's going on, everybody? It's JR. You are checking out another edition of the Sport Brief. It's a wonderful day. It's a hard-hitting day. It's an inspirational day. We have my main man, one of the greatest trainers ever. He's in the World Boxing Hall of Fame. He has a Trainer's Award he won in 1994. It's Teddy Atlas, also an analyst. How you doing, Teddy?
Good. Good to be with you, JR.
I'm happy that you're here. What's going on with you this wonderful day?
Just walking around Manhattan, I got lost, and then I ran into you.
Just magically?
It made my day, a gloomy day became a bright day.
Well, most of the time I tune into fights on ESPN. I see you there, and you're talking boxing. You're inspiring people. What's keeping you busy nowadays, man?
Still working with ESPN. I got a charity foundation also that hops up in there first because it helps people. 21 years now, the Dr. Atlas Foundation, named it after my father, who was a old-fashioned general practitioner doctor who founded 2 hospitals on Staten Island, and he took care of the people that didn't have nothing, took care of the poor people, and made sure that they, before Obamacare, before any of the talk about healthcare and all that stuff that goes on all the time, and especially now, he wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to get the proper care and be in a hospital they belonged in, not just a clinic where maybe they didn't get taken care of too good. So he actually built 2 hospitals.
So let me ask you a question. If your father was a doctor, how did you get into the fight game?
I got mixed up. I got confused a little bit.
You bucked your father?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a little bit. I mean, my father was funny because my father, when people would ask him, Dr. Atlas, you want your son to be a doctor? Everybody would think that he would say yes, of course.
Yeah.
He said, no, I want him to do something where he can make money. And people were like, wait a minute, doctors make money. But he didn't think of it in that way because he wasn't in it to make money. He made money, but not that kind of money.
He wanted to help people.
Yeah, he was really doing, without sounding ridiculous here, but that's what he was doing. And so he would say, no, I want him to be a lawyer so he can make money. And so when I did get myself onto the wrong paths and the wrong roads.
Happens.
But stuff happens, but I got myself onto the right one. Mm-hmm. I remember one time we were talking about world champions with my mentor, custom model, and we were talking about this fighter, Archie Moore, the old Mongols, and he was a great fighter, and I followed him a lot. Mm-hmm. I read about him a lot. I said it took him so long to get to a world title, and Cus said to me, doesn't matter as long as you get there.
How did you connect with Cus? I mean, was he still in New York? Did he already go up to the Catskills?
Yeah,
he was already up there already.
He was upstate. I was a troubled youth, mm-hmm. and my own troubles that I created, and I was on the wrong path, and I figured it out later. I was searching for the love and attention and the pure attention, the unadulterated attention of my father, and I figured out in my infinite wisdom, which was really zero wisdom, was that the people that got my father's attention were broken down, sick, fractured people in trouble. So I would break myself down, get fractured, and get in trouble, mm-hmm. and get in the streets, and I would get my father's attention.
Yeah,
it sounded like a good plan.
You know what? Now
it went a little crooked.
When you think about it, that's actually quite a little master plan there.
Yeah, but it didn't. Listen, I got to the right place, but I would not suggest it to any of you people out there because you get one of these things on your face going down there.
You got one of those outside.
And you don't need that. You don't need to go down there to get your father's attention or to get to the right place. There's other ways you could figure it out. I didn't know how to figure it out.
So let me ask you a question. As a great trainer, that's where people know you from. Most people know you for talking, not necessarily listening. We see the interactions during the course of the fight with the Moras, with the Tim Bradleys. That's you talking and trying to get your fighter to listen. As a trainer,
well, to act, not just listen, but to act.
Well, how much does listening play in regards to being a trainer? You have to take in information and try to get them to act, as you say. How does that work?
You have to notice things. You have to. I know this is going to sound kind of like silly, but to be successful at anything, you got to care. And so you got to care. You got to notice things. You got to notice them in the gym. You got to notice them at home. You got to know something about him. You got to know his trigger points. You got to know his soft points, his frailties, his weak places, where we can go in those places, especially when we're in a ring. an uncomfortable place, a scary place. You can quickly go into those weak places that you might have escaped from to get to where you got to.
That's applicable to anything in life, by the way.
So you got to be aware of that. Where are those closet doors that could open up suddenly and he could go right back in there, and that they're there, they exist. He's been there before. So you got to know that. So you got to care enough to know that, to find that stuff out. And you got to pay attention. In the gym, you see how he acts under fire. You understand the things that could take him to a place that could separate him from winning.
Right.
And then you got to be aware. Then you got to come up with your plan. Everyone talks about the fighter's plan. But how about the instructor? How about the teacher?
If
how
things
about the
don't
trainer?
go the way that you expect them to go, how are you going to pivot?
Yeah. You got to have a plan of, okay, what am I going to do? You know, and the plan is based on logic of understanding your guy, where it's possible he could go there.
Well, Stan on Instagram, he actually asked me this earlier today. One of the most famous things is you talking to Michael Moorer. Hey, man, do you want to go out there? You talking to Tim Bradley, the five-man conversation. Stan asked, do you care about some of the criticism that you receive? I mean, even still now, you talk about Jeff Horn. You got people in Australia yelling at you, hey, you try to sabotage this guy. How do you deal?
Aussies.
Yeah, how do you deal with criticism? Do you care?
You know, I care about answering a question honestly, because that sticks with me. That's me. That sticks with you after I leave here. That's me. That's what you can count on. That you were true. You were honest with yourself. That's your reputation. And one thing that helps me is I am a caveman. I am ignorant when it comes to the internet.
Criticism.
So I
not today.
No, so I don't see that stuff. I know it's there because people tell me.
Yeah.
People have a habit of telling people things, even if sometimes they're not the most pleasant thing in the world. We're funny that way. We are funny creatures that way. Sometimes they tell you, hey, did you know? Nah, I didn't really know that till you brought it up. But I don't read it. I don't see it. But so that's part of it. That's part of the honesty of the answer, is that I'm not going out there and immersing myself into the knowledge of what's out there so much. That's part. Does that mean I'm hiding from it? No, I'm not hiding from it.
You're not reading your own press clippings.
I'm not hiding from it. I'm not seeing either side of it. But it don't bother me. And again, you gotta really feel that you can stand behind what you're saying into this microphone. It don't bother me, because what it's all about is getting the job done. And now if I failed in those instances, then I would have to be bothered by how I went about getting my job done. Maybe it wasn't a right way to go about getting it, but if it works and you get your job done, well, what's there to worry about? What's there to be criticized? Who the freak cares what people out there? And guess what? I did learn something about the world in the years that I've been around. There are such things as jealousy. And I hate to say that, because no one should be jealous of me, because who am I to be jealous? So I'm careful about even using that word. But I'm using it because there are people that really get something out of somebody else's misery, out of knocking somebody else down.
Well, let me ask you a question.
So when I put it, and you do have to understand the psyche to be a boxing trainer. So understanding that people go into those places and make those places comfortable for them, even though maybe they shouldn't, but they do, in somebody else's demise, I could give two craps about somebody out there who's taking a knock at me, as long as I feel that I did the job and I did it for the right reason. And I did do it for the right reason, because that's why I did it. Because I knew that a situation could come up that would call for me to react that way. Because the business I'm in, I'm in an emotional business. I'm in a scary business.
You're in an ass-kicking game. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Listen, I'm not standing in the middle of the ring fighting no damn body.
And those people that say those things, again, it never bothered me. It's not in my face. I'm not swimming in this stuff. So it's maybe that's part of it. But it don't bother me, because I put no legitimacy in those people. I don't care what those people think, because they don't care about me doing my job. They don't care about my family. So why do I care? Why am I going to say, oh my God, these people think these things, and they're saying, Go ahead. Go make yourself happy if that's what
one
you
of the
do.
things,
and then go have a shot or something in the bar.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
but one thing that you said that didn't cross my mind, I was thinking just in general. Oh, how can he sit in the guy's corner? I can say this about his family. But then you said jealousy. And it automatically, personally made me think of Freddie Roach. Is there anything there? Do you?
If Freddie has these feelings, you know what he should do? He should keep on speed dial. You know, which I don't. I'm a caveman, so I just got one of those fancy phones that my man has.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I just got one. I had a flip phone until not too long ago. Not bragging about it, but that's the reality. So I don't have guys on the speed dial. But one thing, when Freddie gets to those places, he should go on a speed dial to his accountant. How much? Yeah, it's still there, right?
Oh, damn.
It's still there? Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, why are you worrying about me? Why you've done really good in the business, you know, and obviously you made your choices to train certain guys, and you were very successful at it, and you did. Why would you tug at my tail, so to speak, and poke at me? You
feel you've been poked at? The last I've necessarily heard about anything was the last time that you were in Bradley's corner
when we were fighting Pacquiao.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, yeah, you know, he would say certain things. I didn't initiate it, but again, why do you feel inspired, motivated to say, just call your accountant up and say, those numbers are good, right?
Is it still there?
Yeah, it's all there. It's good? Okay, good. And that, I mean, what are you worried about?
Isn't this...
Why are you going to places with me? Because then, and this is weakness on my part, because I am part of the human race, then you make me think about going to a place like, all right, I won't keep my stupid mouth shut. I will talk about other things that I think are more as important or more important than just the numbers that you've reached, you know, in your bank statement. And then I got to say, hey, I remember when you were training a guy named Peter Manfredo, a little guy, wasn't a Pacquiao talent, and you had given your word that you were going to train him, and he was fighting Joe Calzaghe, undefeated fighter, southpaw, good fighter. Was he going to win? Chances are he wasn't going to win. But he thought he had a better chance to win because you were training him. So he had your commitment to train him. Hey, right? Your word. And you're going to train him, and then all of a sudden, something else comes along. Something a little bigger. Something called Oscar De La Hoya. A chance to train him to fight Mayweather. That comes along. And you say, you know what? I can leave that, and I can forget about Manfredo, and I can go and train Oscar De La Hoya. Obviously, good business move, smarter than I am, real good move, and you leave Manfredo, who thought he had you. So does loyalty, does commitment, does that picture into being successful? Now, I know you're successful. I know that you're taking shots at me, and you're and I know that you got that bank account. But in my mind, now you're going to force me to open this stupid mouth of mine and say, I don't know if you're that successful. Because if you were that successful, maybe you wouldn't have went over there and just took the De La Hoya fight. Maybe you would have kept your word. You would have went with Manfredo. Manfredo got knocked out, I think, in 2 rounds by Calzaghe without you there. Maybe he lasts 5 rounds if you're there because he believes in you. Maybe. And at the end of the day, maybe your bank account is a little smaller. Not that much smaller. But maybe that counts for something. So,
well, tell me how you really feel, Teddy.
And then the funny thing about that story is,
oh boy,
guess who got a phone call to train De La Hoya before that?
I don't know. Is he in front of me?
Yeah.
It's Teddy
and listen, I don't hate money, but I didn't take it because I had a commitment at that time. Again, I just wasn't able to say yeah. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be able to get that check into my bank. And I wanted the challenge, not just the check, but the challenge of beating Mayweather. And yeah, I wanted to say yeah, but I had a commitment. And at that time, De La Hoya's people were like, listen, we want an answer now. Freddie will give us an answer right now. Well, then obviously that you're going to be with Freddie.
Well, let me ask you a question. Isn't this spats and disagreements like this inevitable in boxing? Just across the board.
Why do they have to be? Why do they have
It
to
just
be?
seems like that's always the case. Whether it's a promoter, whether it's a fighter, a trainer.
I'm being a little mean here, okay? I'm not afraid to admit. I'm being a little mean. I'm being a little small. I am. And my kids will probably be a little mad at me. But I've got I've built up some collateral with them where I've had times where I wasn't that small. And maybe they'll let me get away with it. But what is the purpose? Why, when we were getting ready to fight Pacquiao and we were having press conferences, why did that door have to be opened up? Why did we have to go down? For what reason? If you think about it, for what, his accounting firm was good. It was solid, right? Why did we have to go down that road? Because people...
Well, not specifically you.
Yeah, but people... Why? Because people... They don't feel satisfied unless they hurt somebody. They don't feel satisfied unless they make somebody less than them. Like, it wasn't enough for us to just be two good competitors, trainers that are pretty good trainers, right? Been around the business a long freaking time, and then it's just get our guys ready and get in that ring.
From my perspective,
why did we have to go and find those other things to put on the table?
Well, why is that in general? Not just necessarily with you and Freddie. From my perspective, when I look at all sports, speaking domestically here, we can talk about overseas, whether it's basketball or football. When you're talking about competition, things get heated. It doesn't matter whether it's on the managerial level or in the locker room or in the fans in the stands. But from my perspective, when you start talking about boxing and the fight game, it's anything goes. From the construction of the fights to the construction of deals, there's a million different things, and it just seems much more hostile and volatile. Is it because it's boxing? Why there's so many tips about this guy stole from me and this guy egged me on? Why is it different? Is there no regulation? Why is that?
No, because the door opens up and it becomes convenient to do what people like to do. Human nature can be magnificent, but it can be like I just was. It could be mean-spirited. It could be thin-skinned. It could be small-minded. It could be all those things because we're humans. Because sometimes it's not just enough to have the competition and to have a chance for success and a chance for money and a chance for comfort and security and to make our kids proud. Sometimes there's something else knocking at the door, and it's an ugly little guy knocking at the door saying, no, I don't like this guy because he got more attention than me, so I'm going to bring him down a couple pegs. What? I don't like because he said something 22 years ago.
Human nature.
Human nature to go to ugly places sometimes if we don't control it. And I didn't control it today 100%.
Okay.
I controlled it about 70%.
Well, listen, you're in full control now, so we ain't gonna worry about that too much.
You're in control.
No, I'm not. I'm just sitting here. JR's just sitting here with Teddy. Now, I couldn't have you up here and not talk about some of the fight. You looked at my Jets shirt.
Yeah.
I see that. What's going on? You're a Raiders fan? What's going on there?
My son is the coordinator scouting for the Oakland Raiders. Been there about 7 years. My son's obviously he wants to be a GM someday. I think
nice.
He will.
Okay.
He's a smart guy. He's a good guy. He's a good kid, and he's very motivated and works really hard. He works with Reggie McKenzie and John Gruden now, and all those. And Reggie's been doing a great job, and Gruden's going to do a great job. And Reggie's been doing a great job for the last several years, bringing the draft.
I'm going to have to go check out a Jets game with you out in the black hole.
The black hole is really.
I'm not going to wear this though. I'll wear neutral clothing that day. I
like the people at the black hole.
But
didn't you do
some? You helped the Jets at some point a few years ago with some of the training.
Yeah, back in the Mangini era.
Eric Mangini, zip lip, don't say nothing.
That's it. Mangini and Mike Tannenbaum. Mangini was the guy who took the initiative, and they brought me over. They hired me to give boxing lessons to the Jets, and I gave the whole team boxing lessons for 3 years. And people say boxing lessons, hand movement, hand coordination, agility drills, strength drills, punching drills. What are you punching?
That's what
We're
the
not
offensive and defensive linemen, swim moves.
Got to punch out.
Hands.
Now, a guy punches out. What could you teach him? Well, if your elbows come out, you waste a split second and your power goes out of here. So you keep going, bop, and you punch out those arms, bop, and you get them out in time where you keep the guy from getting his hands on you.
Right.
So little things like that. So you're teaching.
This guy knows this.
Yeah, so
it's out there.
you're teaching that. So and then
hired Teddy for football.
The psychological part is the crux of it, though, in everything in life. You know, it's about going to those scary places, whatever they are for you. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, well, the only scary place is a boxing ring." No.
Life is a scary place.
Are you kidding me? You're in the football field, and so I would talk to him about going to those dark places. I made a name for them. Gray rooms. This is my philosophy in life. On JR's show, and if I had to summarize it in a shorter period, then you should summarize something as important as your philosophy of life. It would be not getting knocked out. And that would be
we call that JR wisdom here, Teddy. Don't get knocked out.
Don't get knocked out there, okay? And how do you not get knocked out in life, in anything? Well, in the ring, what happens is you get dinged, right? You get dinged, and you get a little blurry, right? And you got a good chin there.
Was it okay? Did it move? I think I was all right.
And what happens is you get dinged a little bit, right? And you start to go to a cloudy place. Physically, you start to go to a place, you start going down a corridor, and I call it the gray room. And the light's not as bright, it's gray. Now the light is bright over here, but you're starting to go into a place where there's less light, and it's a gray room, and you're in the gray room. But while you're in that gray room, you have a choice. But some people think they don't have a choice, and they just keep going. And if you go all the way down, it's completely black. It's a black room. But you know what? You don't want to go to that black room. You don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be a genius. You just don't want to go to that black room because you might not come out of there. So you wind up and you get a little dizzy, you get caught, and you wind up in this gray room, and you turn and you see the light. And at that moment in life, you say, wait a minute, I'm going back towards the light. I'm going to pull myself together, and I'm going to go back towards that light. I ain't going to continue going down that black road. Because if I go down, I don't got to know, I don't got to wait till I'm there. It ain't good. And for me, that's life. And that's what I did with the Jets. I tried to teach them. I know it sounds funny, but to a lot of people it probably won't. That when you're on that football field and you're in front of that 320-pound guy and it's scaring the crap out of you and you're starting to go to that gray room. No. Pull a hold of yourself and say, it's my choice. He ain't taking me there. Man, I'm letting myself go there. I'm letting myself go there.
The Teddy got me hyped up. I couldn't have you here, Teddy, not ask you about some of the fights and stuff going on. Give me your thoughts on the welterweight division. We got Spence, we got Thurman.
What a great division.
Shoot, let's roll.
You know boxing. What a great division. Oh, my God. I haven't seen that much talent, that much comparable talent, competitiveness, great fights to be made since the 80s when you had a man named Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Pernell Whitaker.
So are you saying this is what we have now with Spence and Thurman?
Yeah. I mean, not quite to that.
Not there yet. They got more accomplishments.
To that level. They were special guys. Sugar Ray Leonard, for me, is one of the guys that could fit in any era. And I don't say that easily. That's how great he was. Pernell Whitaker was pretty damn great. And Roberto Duran was pretty damn great. And Benitez, we don't even forget him. So what I'm saying is, but now, this group of welterweights, when you talk about Spence and Thurman, and now Crawford moving up there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't forget about Crawford. He moved up there now. When you talk about, and then, of course, you got Danny Garcia, who's still there. He's got the one loss. And then he fights this week. Yeah, he's fighting a guy who's a little shot, though.
Yeah, Bam Bam is like 31 years old. Yeah. He retired, and then he came back.
There's only so much punishment a person can take, and how much is left.
Who's the best?
I don't think there's a lot. I don't think there's a lot left. I think Garcia should handle him. But what I'm saying about that division right now is those guys, boy, you put those guys in and mix them in, you could have fights on any given night where it's a 50-50 fight. What I mean by that is it's not a 70-30 fight. Yeah. It's where you could make a good argument on either side. And you know what? That's when boxing's healthy. That's when everyone wants to come out. And that's the 80s, the last time when it was that healthy.
Well, what about the heavyweight division? We got that. We got Wilder.
Calm down. You were doing good.
We got Joshua.
You were doing good.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you were doing
it's
good.
not. No, you don't.
No, because they're not going to fight each other. All right?
Whoa. You're saying
they're not gonna
that
fight
Joshua and Wilder are not going to fight each other?
I don't think they're
Once
gonna fight.
Parker gets out of here and Ortiz gets out of here, why are they not going to fight?
Why? Business. Because Joshua can draw 75 to 100,000 people in the UK. And when you can draw 75,000 to 100,000, and people don't care if you're fighting a doorman from the King's Arm Hotel in England. That sounds like a hotel that might be in England.
I think it exists.
It might exist. So when you can fight a doorman from there, and the people will still come out 75, guess what? It would be stupid business to risk yourself too quick. Within a year, too quick. Maybe 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. But it would be dumb business. You don't need to do that. Kind of like Canelo and Triple G. That fight didn't get made when people wanted it made. Why? Because Canelo
Triple G is a little. You think he's a little bit too further down the road?
Yeah, now he is. But well, he's a little. He's getting there. He's a little sharp.
My guy Danny beat him up, took him to the edge.
But what I'm saying. That fight wasn't made. It was finally made, and it was very controversial.
Yeah.
I thought Triple G won. And I said it before the fight. It was going to be controversial, and Triple G would win.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is it wasn't made until about 5 years later from when they originally started talking about it, because it made no business sense for Golden Boys people to take the goose that lays the golden eggs, Canelo,
and put it out there and then put it to rest.
And put him in with Golovkin, who Golovkin, as good as he is, he can't
stretch him out.
He can't go make that money fighting anybody. But Canelo, because of the great Latin-based audience and following that he has, he could fight anyone, and 40,000 people are going to show up.
Well, we know we're going to get that fight in a few months. But with the heavyweights, with 2 more years?
Again, it doesn't make business sense right now when you have a Joshua who can put, I'm going to say it twice to make sure it gets through to you.
I'm going to try.
75,000, I'll say it again, 75,000 people in the stadium. Where do you get that? Where do you get that?
Doesn't Deontay got to go out there?
He can't. Yeah, he would have to go out there. But he can't.
I don't think he was getting ready to go fight,
Deontay would do it in 2 seconds, because where else is he going to make the money like that? But it's Joshua's people, not out of fear, out of good business acumen. Why would they take that risk now when they can continue to make money with lesser threat, lesser guys with that kind of backing?
Well, you kind of put a whole you deflated my thoughts on the heavyweight division.
What
is he gonna do after Parker?
Joshua, he'll
fight just another guy?
They're fine guys, but Joshua is the most polished. He's a gold medalist.
Yes.
He's the most polished out of them all. What Wilder is, he's the best puncher in boxing.
He's a basketball player. He knocked the hell out of stuff.
But he's the best puncher in boxing. I'll say it again. Pound from now, not because he's a heavyweight, just pure power. Punches are not made. They are born. He was born with power in his right hand. He is an unbelievable puncher, but his technique is not good. He makes so many mistakes.
So you're saying you go with Joshua.
Joshua's more polished, but he's got that great eraser. Remember when you were in school, and I don't know, you're young, but when I was in school, they had those black erasers, and those teachers were nasty. And
with the board, you threw the dust at the kid that you didn't like.
And I got hit in the head with a couple of those erasers.
Oh, sorry.
All right?
Okay,
so what I'm saying is he's got that eraser. And again, it wasn't, he was born with that power. And Wilder, he can be losing the fight to the more polished Joshua, and all of a sudden,
that one whammo,
bang, that right hand can erase all the mistakes that he made up to that point. And that's and it's interesting. I'd like to see that fight. It'd be interesting. But again, business. Just the same reason you didn't see Canelo and Triple G when you first wanted to see it, because Canelo had other options.
It's no different than Mayweather and Pacquiao. This is the part about boxing that's irritating.
Yeah.
We all want to see the best fights. And that goes back to my earlier question of, everything is about business. And it's not necessarily what the fans want to see or what the best fights should be. It all boils down to the dollars, like everything else. And is there a solution for that? Probably not.
Yeah, the solution is unemployment. Let the promoters know there's something called unemployment if you don't put the best. In other words, they learn fast. They become better citizens quickly against their better judgment. They will suddenly say, hey, I'll put that guy with that guy, because you know what? If I don't, I ain't going to make money. So it's the same thing as you don't like your government, you don't like your politicians. Well, you know what? Go out and vote. You're the people. Well, it's no different in a televised sport. Think about it. You don't watch it. They will suddenly become quickly smart and understand what JR's talking. All of a sudden they'll say, oh, wait a minute, I can put these two guys together. You know what? Yeah, I could do it. because they have to do it, because you're not watching otherwise, because you're taking their income stream away from them. And that's
don't watch crap fights.
That's where it comes down to.
Hey, that's more Teddy wisdom. We got JR wisdom. We got Teddy wisdom. Listen, Teddy, I appreciate all the information you came and spouted. I know I'm not Stephen A. Smith. I didn't yell back enough at you.
No, but you yelled plenty.
But I appreciate you swinging on by and dropping all that wisdom, man. It's much appreciated.
I love Stephen A. Smith, but I appreciate you not yelling back as much as Stephen A. Smith.
To give like migraines and stuff like that.
You got to bring a little tube of double strength Tylenol sometimes. Not all that, and sometimes it's not even Steven's fault. You might have had a headache going in.
That's what it is. Yo, shout outs to my main man Teddy for coming by. You are checking out the JR Sport Brief. Make sure you watch Teddy on ESPN. He got a lot of other things cooking. He's dropping more of that wisdom. You got any final words for the people out there, Teddy?
No, I just appreciate, I appreciate people when they come up to me and they'll be gracious enough to come up to little old me and say, hey, Ted, thanks for standing up for the sport. Thanks for caring about the sport, and thanks for keeping it real. And those are the words that most come out of their mouth is that. And I say to myself, wow, to be thanked by somebody for keeping it real, for being honest, for telling, to get platitudes and gratitude.
For being honest.
Just for that. That
shows you the world we live in.
That's pretty simple. And I just appreciate the people that take the time. Because sometimes when you say that to me, it's just like anyone out there. You might want to say something to somebody and you never say it. And it might make their day. And there's been days where I feel like I kind of feel a little punched out, and I feel like, hey, not poor me because I'm very blessed, but I'm just like, nobody cares. And then somebody comes along and says that and say, oh, shoot, how stupid was I? I forgot for a second that, yeah, people care. And maybe that's the thing. If we're going to joke with ourselves and make believe we have wisdom, maybe you let somebody know something someday when you were thinking about letting somebody know something you never did. You go up to them and say, hey, I think you did a good job there.
Well, I appreciate you coming by, Teddy. Thank you, my man.